The first time Brandon said it, I thought he was joking. We were sitting on the floor of my living room, backs against the couch. Half-empty beer bottles scattered around us like we were still in college instead of two grown men pretending we had our lives together. The TV was on, muted, some dumb reality show neither of us was actually watching. Brandon cleared his throat. "Hey, Eric, can I ask you something kinda weird?" That alone should have set off alarms. Brandon never cleared his throat. He just said whatever was in his head and dealt with the consequences later. I didn't look at him. I just took a sip of my beer. "You already did. But sure, go for it." There was a pause. Too long. Then he said it. "So, you're gay, right?" I finally turned my head and gave him a look. "No, Brandon. I just really enjoy going to pride parades for the free stickers." He snorted, rubbing the back of his neck. "Okay, yeah. Fair." Another pause. He shifted beside me, knee brushing mine. I noticed it. I always noticed things like that with him, even though I tried not to. He exhaled slowly. "Hypothetically, if a straight guy wanted to know what it's like to kiss another guy," I laughed. Out loud. Sharp. Automatic. "That's a hell of a hypothetical." "I'm serious," he said quickly. "Just hear me out." I set my beer down, suddenly very aware of how quiet the room felt. "All right, I'm hearing you." He stared straight ahead at the TV, jaw tight. What if he was just curious? Not like questioning his whole life or anything. Just wanted to know. And, he added, voice lower now, what if that guy happened to have a gay best friend who, might know how that stuff works? I didn't answer right away. Brandon and I had been best friends for almost 10 years. We met freshman year of college when he borrowed my charger and never gave it back. He was loud, confident, effortlessly attractive in a way he never seemed aware of. I was quieter, more guarded, and had spent a solid year pretending I didn't have a massive crush on him. Eventually, the crush faded. Or at least, I told myself it did. "Brandon," I said carefully, "are you asking me if I can teach you how to kiss guys?" He winced. "When you say it like that, it sounds worse." "I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it sounds." I swallowed. "And what happens after?" He shrugged, forcing a casual smile that didn't quite land. "Then I know. And life goes on. No big deal." I studied his face, the familiar curve of his mouth, the faint scar on his eyebrow from a drunken basketball game years ago. My best friend. The one person I trusted more than anyone. "You do realize," I said slowly, "that you can't unknow something like that." His smile faded. "Yeah, I know." The silence stretched between us, heavy and charged in a way it had never been before. Finally, I said, "If we do this, we don't joke about it. And you stop the second you're uncomfortable." Brandon nodded immediately. "Same goes for you." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "Okay." He blinked. "Okay. Okay." I repeated. "But not tonight." Relief flashed across his face, followed by something else. Disappointment? Anticipation? Couldn't tell. "Yeah," he said quickly. "Totally. Not tonight." But as he stood up to grab another beer, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had already shifted between us. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I replayed the way he'd said it. Just for fun. The way he hadn't looked at me at first, like if he did, he might chicken out. By morning, I'd almost convinced myself it was a stupid drunk conversation that would never come up again. Almost. Brandon texted me around noon. "Brandon. So, Brandon, about last night. Brandon. Still cool?" I stared at my phone longer than I should have. "Me, yeah. Still cool." "Me, but we should probably talk about it sober." 3 dots popped up immediately. "Brandon. I am sober." "Brandon. That's why I'm asking," grinning face with sweat. That little emoji shouldn't have done anything to me. It did. We decided he'd come over that evening. No beers. No excuses. Just us. When he showed up, he looked annoyingly normal. Same worn sneakers, same hoodie he'd had since college, same stupidly good smile. He tossed his keys on the counter like this was any other night. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I replied. Awkward silence. Immediately, Brandon shoved his hands into his pockets, rocking slightly on his heels. "Okay, this is already weirder than I thought it'd be." I laughed under my breath. "You asked your gay best friend to teach you how to kiss guys." I'm not sure what you were expecting. Less tension, he guessed. Bold assumption. He rubbed his face, then looked at me more seriously. I just want to be clear. I'm not messing with you. I trust you. That's why I asked. That mattered more than I expected. I nodded. I know. And I need you to know, this isn't a performance. You don't have to impress anyone. His lips twitched. Kind of figured. We moved to the couch, sitting farther apart than we ever had before. Felt deliberate. Protective. So, Brandon said, clearing his throat again. How does this work? I raised an eyebrow. You want the instructional version or the human one? Human. Please. I took a breath. Do you want me to show you? Yeah. I think so. Then I leaned in. Okay. Yeah. I get why people like this. I raised an eyebrow. That all you got? He leaned back against the couch, rubbing his jaw. I'm not saying anything yet. I'm just processing. And the thing was, I believed him. But as I watched him sit there, cheeks faintly flushed, eyes a little unfocused, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just curiosity anymore. It felt like the beginning of something neither of us had planned for. And we were both pretending not to see it. Brandon didn't leave right away. We sat there longer than either of us probably meant to. The TV still muted, the room dimming as the sun slipped lower outside my windows. Everything felt off balance. Like we'd nudged a piece on the board and now neither of us knew what the next move was supposed to be. So, he said eventually, breaking the silence. Is that normal? I glanced at him. What part? The whole, he gestured vaguely between our faces. Electric feeling. I hesitated. Honesty won. Yeah, when there's chemistry. His jaw tightened just slightly. Chemistry. I could practically hear the word echo in his head. He stood up and paced once, then twice like he needed to burn off nervous energy. I didn't expect it to feel like that with you. That landed harder than I was ready for. With me, how? I asked carefully. He stopped pacing and looked at me. Really looked. You're my best friend. This wasn't supposed to feel loaded. I gave a small, dry laugh. You asked the wrong guy if you wanted unloaded. He smiled, but it faded fast. That came out wrong. No, I said softly. It didn't. Another stretch of quiet. The kind that wasn't awkward anymore, just heavy. Brandon dropped back onto the couch. Can I ask you something? He said. Apparently tonight's theme. He rolled his eyes, then sobered. Do you have feelings for me? There it was. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know, but because I'd spent years knowing and pretending I didn't. I did, I said finally. A long time ago. His brows knit together. Did. I dealt with it, I clarified. Or I thought I did. He nodded slowly, processing. And now, I met his eyes. Now you're asking me to kiss you just for fun. So yeah, things feel a little different. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. I never wanted to mess you up. You didn't, I said. Then, after a beat, not until you kissed back. That got a quiet laugh out of him. Fair. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I don't know what this means, Eric. I still don't. I just know I don't regret it. Neither did I. And that was the dangerous part. Maybe, I said, choosing my words. We don't have to define it yet. He looked up. You're okay with that? As long as we're honest, I said. And as long as just for fun doesn't turn into pretending nothing's happening. He nodded. Deal. He hesitated, then added, Can we try again? Just once more. When we pulled apart, his forehead rested briefly against mine. Okay, he murmured. Yeah, that definitely wasn't just curiosity. My heart thudded. Welcome to the problem. He laughed softly, then leaned back, staring at the ceiling. I think I need to go before my brain explodes. Probably smart. At the door, he paused, hand on the handle. Hey, Eric. Yeah, thanks for trusting me. I smiled. Don't make me regret it. He didn't respond, just gave me a look I couldn't quite read, then left. After the door closed, I stood there for a long time, because something had shifted again. And this time, I wasn't sure either of us could pretend it hadn't. The next few days were weird. Not bad weird. Not awkward weird. Just this low-level hum under everything. like my life had picked up a new background noise I couldn't turn off. Brandon texted me more than usual. Nothing flirty, nothing obvious, just constant. Brandon, did you know pigeons can recognize themselves in mirrors? Brandon, I feel like that's illegal. Me only emotionally. Brandon, rude but fair. Normal. Friday night, he came over again. No warning. No planning. Just a knock at my door around 10. When I opened it, he was standing there with his hands shoved into his jacket pockets. Eyes a little too bright. Hey, he said. I was nearby. You live 20 minutes away. Yeah, well, I took the scenic route. I stepped aside to let him in. You okay? He shrugged. Define okay. We ended up on the balcony. City lights flickering below us. The air was cool, grounding. Brandon leaned against the railing, staring out like he was trying to read answers in the dark. I went on a date, he said suddenly. My stomach dropped before I could stop it. Oh, yeah, he continued, rubbing his thumb against the metal rail. Nice girl. Funny. Everything she said made sense. I kissed her, he said quietly, and it felt fine, just fine. That hurt more than I expected and less than I feared. He laughed softly, shaking his head. I think I broke my own brain, Eric. You didn't break it, I said. You just stopped ignoring it. He watched me for a long moment. You're annoyingly calm about this. I'm not, I admitted. I'm just experienced at pretending. Something in his expression softened. Can I ask you something else? He said. I raised an eyebrow. You're on a roll tonight. When you kiss someone, he said slowly, how do you know when it means more than just kissing? I didn't dodge it. When you keep thinking about it after. When you don't want to undo it. His throat bobbed as he swallowed. Then, he said, voice low, I think I already know the answer. The balcony felt suddenly too small. He reached out, hesitated, then let his fingers hook lightly into the hem of my shirt. Not pulling, just there. Still okay? He asked. Yes, I said immediately. But we're not pretending anymore. He nodded. Good. I'm not straight, he said quietly. I smiled, heart pounding. You don't have to label it tonight. After that night, things stopped hovering in the almost. They didn't become simple, far from it, but they became honest. Brandon started coming over more often, sometimes with excuses, sometimes without. We'd cook together, argue over music. We still didn't announce anything out loud, but we also didn't pretend anymore. The first time he reached for my hand in public, it caught me completely off guard. We were at a late-night diner, one of those places with cracked vinyl booths and menus that hadn't changed since the 90s. We were halfway through fries, laughing about something stupid, when his pinky brushed mine on the table. I assumed it was an accident. Then his fingers shifted, slow, deliberate, and laced through mine. I froze. Brandon didn't look at me. He kept talking like nothing monumental was happening, thumb lightly brushing the side of my hand. My heart was trying to break out of my ribcage. You okay? He asked quietly, finally glancing over. I nodded. Yeah, just surprised. He smiled, small and real. Good surprise. The best kind. He squeezed my hand once, then let go like he didn't want to push his luck. But the damage was done. I spent the rest of the night hyper-aware of him, of us. Later, back at my place, he paced again. Same nervous energy as before, but different now. Less fear. More weight. I told my sister, he said. I blinked. Already. She figured it out, he admitted. She always does. And, he smiled, softer this time. She said, about time, then asked if you were hot. I laughed, relief crashing through me. And, I said yes, he replied easily. Obviously, he leaned his forehead against mine. I don't know where this goes. I just know I don't want to stop. This was real. And for the first time, neither of us was pretending otherwise. It didn't hit me all at once. That Brandon and I were together, came in pieces. Small moments that stacked up until there was no way to deny it anymore. Like the first morning he woke up at my place and didn't rush to leave. I rolled over, still half asleep, and found him already awake, propped on one elbow, just watching me. No phone, no distraction, just me. What? I mumbled. He smiled. You snore a little. I groaned. pulling the blanket over my face. "You're never staying over again." He laughed and tugged the blanket back down. "Relax. It's kind of cute." Still, Brandon hadn't told anyone else. Not his friends. Not our mutuals. Not even the guys he'd always been closest to. And I didn't push. One night, after we'd eaten and were sprawled on the couch, he went quiet in that way I was learning to recognize. "What's going on in that head?" I asked. He hesitated. "I ran into Mark today." Of course he did. Mark, his gym buddy, his wingman, the guy who still assumed Brandon was straight and bragged about it like it was a personality trait. "And?" I asked carefully. He asked if I was seeing anyone. Brandon exhaled. I said no. My chest tightened, even though I understood why. "I didn't say her," he added quickly. "I didn't lie. I just didn't say you." I nodded. "You don't owe anyone a coming out speech." "I know," he said. "I just hate that it feels like I'm hiding you." I turned toward him. "Are you hiding me? Or hiding from what it means?" He didn't answer right away. Then, both. That honesty mattered. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. "But I won't live in the shadows forever." He met my eyes, serious now. "I wouldn't ask you to." A week later, he proved it. We were at a friend's birthday, low-key, crowded apartment, cheap drinks. Brandon stuck close to me the whole night. At some point, Mark made a joke. Something stupid about finally settling down with a girl. Brandon didn't laugh. Instead, he said calmly, "Actually, I'm seeing someone." The room didn't go silent. No record scratch moment. Just a shift. Mark raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah? Who?" Brandon glanced at me. Then he reached over and took my hand. "This guy." My heart slammed into my ribs. There were questions. A few awkward smiles. One or two surprised looks. But nothing exploded. The world didn't end. Later that night, outside in the cool air, Brandon pulled me close and whispered. I was terrified. I smiled. "You did great." He kissed my temple. "I'm done pretending." And in that moment, I realized something that scared me more than all the uncertainty before. I wasn't just falling for him. I already had. Things changed after that night. Not in a dramatic, everything's different way, but in a quiet, undeniable one. Brandon stopped hesitating. He didn't pull his hand away in public anymore. Didn't flinch when someone assumed. Didn't correct them when they didn't. He still hadn't labeled himself, but he stopped running from what was obvious. The first time someone called me his boyfriend out loud, it happened by accident. We were at a coffee shop near his place, waiting on our drinks. The barista smiled at us and said, "Your boyfriend can grab the order at the end of the counter." Brandon didn't correct her. He just nodded. "Thanks." I watched his face closely as we stepped aside. No panic. No second guessing. Just calm. "You okay?" I asked quietly. He glanced at me, then smiled wide. "Real. Yeah. Actually, yeah." That smile did something to me. Something deep and settling. "Eric," he murmured. I used to think there was one version of me I had to be. Like anything outside of that meant I was screwing up. I turned onto my side to face him. And now I think I was just scared of wanting something this much. I didn't joke. Didn't deflect. I just said, "Me too. I don't know what the future looks like," he said. "But I know I want you in it." His sister already knew. A few more friends figured it out. Some needed time. Some surprised us in good ways. None of it was perfect. But it was real. And that's when I realized something important. Love didn't show up with fireworks or dramatic speeches. Sometimes it showed up as curiosity, as trust, as a best friend asking a question that changed everything.